What's up, you guys? Today I'm going to be showing you how to make this custom wooden business sign. Let's get started. Alright, so the first thing that I'm going to do is get my wood cut. I just got some 2x6 pieces here. This one's about an 8-footer and then just 2 shorter chunks. And I want my boards to be 35 inches long. So any scrap that's at least 35 inches will work. First thing that I'm going to do is get them all cut down so they're all the right length. And then once I got those cut down to length, the next thing that I'll do is just rip them all, and I'm going to rip them at 1 inch so they'll be 1 inch deep. And my goal is to just end up with 12 of them. So I'm just going to go ahead and get those cut. All right, now that I got my 12 boards cut and ripped down, I'm just gonna take 4. I had ended up with 4 extra pieces. And then I also ended up with these cutoffs over here as well, so you could use these as well. But I'm just gonna cut 4 of them at 17.5, and then I'm gonna rip them so that they're only a 1/2 inch deep. And then I'll be using those for the backer pieces. Alright, so now we got everything cut. I got my backer pieces. I actually cut 2 more little pieces at 5 inches, and those are the same depth as my backer pieces, and I'll just use those for my hangers. And the next thing that we're gonna do is just get this all glued and nailed together. Alright, so the first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna get some marks on there. So keep in mind that whatever side is facing up will be the back of it. So if there's any like really bad knots or anything wrong with the wood, you just want that to be on the bottom because that will be the face. So I don't know if you want to just check and make sure that the good sides are all facing down. All right, so mine are good. And the next thing that I'm gonna do is make a mark from either side and from the top and the bottom. I'm gonna make a mark at 1 inch and at 12 inches. All right, now that I got those marked, I'm just gonna quickly slide some pieces of wood under here just to give it a more flat surface to lay on. All right, so next what I'm gonna do is just turn all these up. And I'm just gonna go through and just lay a bead of glue right on top of these. All right, now I'm just gonna run my finger down it and just spread it out real nice. And I'll just flip them down as I go. All right, so now that I got those glued, the next thing that I'm gonna do is grab my clamps. I just have 2 24-inch bar clamps. And then now I'm just gonna get one of these started right by my 12-inch mark. And then I'm also going to try and make sure that this edge is as square as possible. All right, so I think that's pretty square. And then now I'm just gonna get this guy started. And then I'm gonna take my other one and just put it right on this end here, and then just get that somewhat tightened up. And then now I'm gonna take one of my backer strips, and then I'm just going to lay a bead of glue down on it. And then now this is just gonna line up right on the inside of my 1-inch mark, just like that. Now I'm just gonna kind of push down on this as I tighten my clamp up a little more. All right, and then once I got my clamp tightened up and I got my backer strip on there lined up with my marks, I'm just gonna take my nailer. It's just an 18 gauge brad nailer, and I have 1 1/4 nails in it. I will have 1 1/4 nails in it. And then I'm just gonna put in 2 nails per board, going all the way up. All right, And then now I can pull this clamp off now that that's nailed. And then I can just move it past the second clamp over here. And I can get this one kind of tightened up. And then now I can put my second backer on. So I'll just put that one on the inside of these marks. And then these ones over here, I'll put on the inside of those marks. But pretty much I'm just gonna do the same thing, just glue it, put it down, clamp it tight, nail it off, and then move this clamp over here and do those two. All right, so I got those all nailed on and everything glued together. I put my little hanger strips just on the top, the second from the top board, and then I just lined them up with that and then butted them up against each side piece. And then now I just want to quickly flip this over and just get as much of the glue that came through on the front, just get as much of that scraped off as I can. So I'm just going to do that real quick. The next thing that I'm gonna do is take my little palm sander here, and then I'm gonna first go over it with some 150 grit, just to try and get some of the rougher stuff, you know, smoothed out, and get some of these little ledges smoothed out. They're nothing serious, but just try to get it as smooth as possible. And then after, I'll go over it with some 220 grit, and then I'll try give it a little bit of a even smoother finish. And then I'm also gonna go along the edges, and then I'm gonna give this corner right here, I'm just gonna round it a little bit all the way around. You don't have to do that if you don't want to, but that's just what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna go ahead and get to sanding. All right, so the next thing that I'm gonna do is just get this all laid out for how I want it. I can show you real quick what I do to print a design onto more than one page, if you're not sure how to. All right, so the way that I scale my images is I open them up into Paint. It's just a desktop app, and then I go under File, and then under Print, and then there's a Print Preview. So you click on that, and then if you go to Page Setup, right here, you can either adjust to a percentage, or you can fit to. So depending on how big you want it, you can either fit it to a certain number of pages. Otherwise, you can just mess around with this right here, and then that will show you the display of how it will come out on the pages. So you can just kind of mess around with that and then try and figure out what will be the right size for your image. And if anybody does know how to do this on an Apple computer, I do not have an Apple computer, so I'm not sure how to do it on there. But if somebody does know, if you could just comment that below just to let anybody else know who does have an Apple computer, that would be greatly appreciated. But that is how I get my pictures resized. And then once we got this printed out, I'm just gonna quickly go through and cut all the margins. I believe you might be able to set the margins to 0, but I think I tried that before and it didn't work for me for some reason. So I'm just gonna go through and I'll just take just a block of wood, and then a razor blade, and then some kind of straight edge, and I'll just go like that, and then just cut all my margins off so that we can connect them all together. And then once I got those cut, I'm just gonna go ahead and just tape outside of the design. I'll just get it all taped together so that it's all connected. And then once we got it all connected, we're just gonna want to set it up for the layout, and you just wanna tape it into place, whether you want it centered left and right, up and down. And then, you know, if you're gonna add any dates, or, you know, it's completely up to you how you do this. So I'm just gonna kind of have this all centered in the middle and up and down. And then I'll just have this on kind of centered over in this area, and then I'll have the 2020 centered in this area. So I'll show you what it looks like once I got it all laid out, but that's what I'm going to be doing. And then before I actually tape this into place, what I'm gonna do is just take some of this carbon transfer paper, and I'm just gonna put it under, pretty much just under the spots where any of the logo is. So I'll just put like 2 sheets down here, and then I'll put 2 sheets up here, and then you know, just like I can even cut a sheet in half and put it just behind each of these before I just tape them into place. And then that way, once it's taped, then we can just easily trace it out, and then that will transfer it right to the surface of our wood. And one more thing real quick, this carbon paper will go felt side up and it will go dark side down. As you can see, one side is a lot darker, so you want that dark side to be on the bottom and the felt side on top. All right, so I got my carbon paper down there and I got this taped right where I want it to be. So I'm just gonna quickly get the outline for this one, and then I will get my EST in the 2020, then I'll kind of place those once I can see exactly where this is. So I'm just gonna take a pencil and then I'm just gonna go around and just draw on it right on the edges, and I'll just get a nice outline of it, and then we can pull it up and see how it looks. All right, so now I'm gonna go ahead and pull this off and we'll see how the outline turned out. So there's my carbon paper, and if I just move it off to the side, we should have a very nice clean outline. And then I can probably just reuse, I mean, this stuff, it comes in like 20 sheet packs, but I could probably just reuse this too for the 2020 and the EST, just reuse the same sheets. But now that I got that done, now I can just clear all this off, and then now I can kind of have a better idea of where I want to put these two. I'll probably just center them up and down, and then maybe just have them an equal distance off of the edge on either side. And I'm just gonna get those marked out real quick. All right, so I just got these outlined, so we can see how they turned out. So I think I like how that looks. And the next thing that I'm gonna do is take my Dremel. I just have a Dremel 3000, and then I got a flex shaft attached to it. And then when I'm wood carving, I use my little dust blower attachment right there. And then I'll be using a number 106 wood carving tip. So this one right here, I already got it on my Dremel, and I'm just gonna go through and I'm just going to outline everything. So I'll pretty much just be going right on my pencil line, and I don't want to get it super deep, but I just want to get a nice outline. I'll show you real quick how deep I'm gonna outline it. I use the Dremel on full speed, and let me just show you real quick what it looks like. All right, so for now, that's all I'm gonna be doing. Hopefully you can tell a little bit how deep it is. Just a little engraving in there. So next up, I'm just gonna get all the rest of this outlined. All right, so I just finished the outlining. Actually, for most of it, I went around the outside of the pencil mark because I'm gonna leave the inside of these. So I just outlined my pencil mark. Also for down here, these ones were a little bit harder to get with the 106 bit. If you do have something that's even finer than this, or for something about this size, you could use the 105 wood carving bit, and that one will be smaller to get into the tight spaces. Next, what I'm gonna do though is just take my sander again, and I'm just gonna put on the 220 grit, and I'm just gonna sand over it and just get the pencil marking off now that we have our outline. So I'm just gonna do that real quick. All right, so I got that all sanded up, and as you can see, I can still see my outlines, but all of the outlines are gone, and then also there was like some scuffs from the transfer paper that got cleaned up as well. So next I'm going to take my torch. I just got a Bernzomatic propane torch, and what I'm gonna do is just go ahead and torch it. So you can pretty much torch it however you want. I'll show you how I torch mine just to give you an idea, but this is definitely something you can get creative with. I'm gonna go ahead and do it darker around the edges, and then in the middle I'll just do kind of just a nice even burn. Try not pause anywhere, otherwise it'll leave like a really dark spot, but I'll just go ahead and show you how I'm gonna do it, how I start out, and then I'll just go ahead and get the rest of it torched. But let me just show you. So for the edges, I'm gonna be doing those a little bit darker. Alright, so I think that's kind of the burn I'll be going for. I might end up a little bit darker than that, and then around the edges as well. So I'm going to go ahead and get it all burned. Alright, so now I got it all torched, as you can see. I went ahead and did it a little bit darker on some of the letters just because that helps the stain to come through a little darker, and I just think it looks a little cooler. And then I went ahead and did it dark kind of in the corners just to kind of fill in those spots because they're kind of empty with just the smaller stuff on the sides. Next up, I'm going to start staining it. So for this one, I'll be doing the B, that will be orange, and then this triangle right here will be black. Then these letters right here will be orange, and then this will be black, these will be black, and then the two sides will be black also. And then I got my stain from Home Depot. Home Depot and Lowe's will both have their own version of water-based wood stain, and they are tintable. As you can see, this one's tintable to 46 plus colors. So this is my orange, and then I already have a black. But if you can't find your color at Home Depot, I'd recommend trying Lowe's also if it's nearby, if it's available, just to see, and hopefully you'll be able to find the right color for whatever logo or design you might be doing. If you do have to end up using paint, obviously that's fine too, but using stain will allow the grain to come through. And then to stain it, I just got these this fine pack of paint brushes. I'll go ahead and link these down below. I've only used them for doing stars so far, and they worked out just fine. So I think they're gonna work out just fine for this too. You just wanna get it close enough to where if it goes in the groove, that's fine. Just try and not get too much in the groove, just so it'll make it easier to clean it out. But you can just get it in the groove, and then that will allow you a little bit of room for error. But I'll go ahead and start on this one real quick, and we can see how it is coming along. And then after, I'm just gonna get everything all stained. I'll do as many coats as I think I need. I'll just determine it as I go. You know, if I want it darker, I'll throw another coat on, but it's definitely up to you. Alright, so make sure you mix up your stain before you use it. Alright, so that is how that is looking. I'll probably do at least one more coat on that. On the orange, I'll probably do at least 2 coats. But I'm just gonna go ahead and get the rest of this stained, and we'll see how it looks. Alright, so now that I got all of the staining done, that took a little while, but I think it turned out really nice. So the next thing that I'm going to do, I actually decided that for the orange, since it's lighter, I'm actually going to outline it with my burn tool, and this is just to make it stand out a little bit more. This is just a Weller brand wood burning tool, and I will just be using this tip right here. It's just a rounded, like a ballpoint tip pretty much. And what I'm gonna do is just plug this thing in for a little bit, let it warm up real good, and then I'll pretty much just drag it through the little groove that I have in there, and I'll go nice and slow. I'll show you what it looks like once this is warmed up. And if you were doing something that was smaller, such as like these letters down here, if you did want to outline those with the burning tool, I would recommend using this one right here. This tip is a little bit more finer than this tip that's on there, as you can see, but I just wanted to let you know that just in case you needed something a little bit smaller. All right, so I gave this thing like 15-20 minutes to warm up, so let's go ahead and give it a try. And then you'll see this stuff start to build up on the end of it. And usually I'll just take my razor blade and I'll just scrape that off just to keep it clean, because I think it like gets in the way of it burning properly. Alright, so that is pretty much how it goes. Hopefully that should really make it pop out more than it would be if it was white. So I'm just gonna go ahead and get all my orange burned. Alright, so I got all of my orange burned. Let me show you what it looks like. I think it turned out really cool. I think it has a super cool effect on it. Yeah, it just makes it look like it's, I don't know, it just gives it a really cool look. And I actually think I am gonna go with the burned on my black as well, just because since it's lighter in here, I feel like it won't make it pop as much with just the carving. One way you could get around this, if you're just gonna carve it, is you could burn it a little bit darker, or you could torch it a little bit darker wherever you're gonna have your designs, and then when you do outline it like that, it'll pop out a lot more. But I'm just really loving this burn look right here, but I am going to get the rest of this burned out right now. Alright, so now we got the burning all done. Let me go ahead and show you how that turned out. I did put the smaller bit on for these little words down here, or for the little letters, but I think it turned out really nice. The next thing, before I seal it, I'm just gonna quickly throw some hangers on the back. So I'm gonna flip it over, and then once I got it flipped over, I'm just gonna use some of these sawtooth hangers. And then for these, what I'll do is just measure to the middle of this piece. I'll just make 2 marks, draw a line straight across, and then I'll measure like 1.5 inches in or so. And then I'll make a mark, and then I'll just hold it on there, and then I'll just pre-drill it on both sides, and then just screw it in. And then I'll do that on this side as well. So I'm gonna get those put on real quick. Alright, so now I got the hangers put on, and now I'm ready to seal it up. So I'm going to use the spray sealer for the back. This is Varathane, water-based polyurethane, and it's crystal clear gloss. And I'll just use that for the back because it's easier to do the back with a spray. And then for the face of it, I'm going to try out this stuff. I've never tried it before. It's triple thick polyurethane, it's water-based, and it is also clear gloss. I'm gonna do my back first, just so that I don't have it on its face after I put the sealer on it. So I'll probably just do 2 light coats of that on the back, and then I'll probably just do 1 coat of this on the face of it. So I'm gonna go ahead and get it sealed up, and we'll see how it looks. I'm doing the edges first, just so that when I do the face of it, that can be like a final coat and I don't mess it up when I'm trying to do the edges. So I'm just gonna get those out of the way first. Alright, so I'm about halfway done with it, but there is a quick peek just to show you how it's coming. I think it looks really good the way it makes the burn part look. Alright, so that is what it looks like all finished up. The sealer has had some time to dry on there. So I just wanted to show you all what it looks like. I think it turned out really nice. It's got a really nice gloss to it. If you guys have any questions, please leave them down below and I'll do my best to answer them. If you'd like to order anything I used to make this, I will link it in the description. If you enjoyed the video, please give me a like and subscribe. Also check me out on Instagram. I'd love to hear any video recommendations that you guys might have for me. Thank you guys so much for watching and good luck with your project.
Yeah.